Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the final live stream of the year. At least assuming nobody wants to actually have a live stream on Christmas, which I can't imagine you would. I certainly don't plan on doing it. So I see Artblade is here. Hello. Big Pete's here. Hello, Big Pete. Ploppy. That's a new one. I don't think I've seen your name pop up before. It's good. Glad you could make it. Rizzy's here. Hello, Rizzy. Bubbles Delight. Hello from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Oh my God, I'm sure I said that wrong. I'm sorry. I apologize to your town, but I did my best. Big Pete says, just started the Dragonspire Chronicles. That's awesome. I hope you're enjoying it. Ploppy says, Merry Christmas and a happy Hogmanay. Kia ora. Bubbles Light says, you are close. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I got it at least reasonably close. Big Pete says he's enjoying Dragonspire Chronicles. Very good. Darwin Dominguez is here. Greetings. How am I doing? I'm doing good. Yep, I'm all over my illness, and I'm all cleaned up from the giant snowstorm we had Friday. I think we had 21 inches of snow, and it's quite a mess. Ploppy says, I'm from Scotland and New Zealand. That's quite a distance apart, those two places. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys are from the Northeast, but we got absolutely hammered with that last snowstorm. Poppy says I'm a good author. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're enjoying my stuff. Hee Ha says, what's your favorite series you've written so far? My favorite series changes. The one I like best generally is the one I'm working on at the moment. I'm having a lot of fun writing my new trilogy set in Coltsland in the Portal Wars universe. Overall, I think probably the Portal Wars is my favorite I've written, but they were all fun at the time. So, Darwin Dominguez says, "Damn, I'm waiting for some snow. Send me some. I wish I could. I'd happily send you all we have." James says, Cleveland, Ohio got a good amount of snow. Yeah, you're a little bit south and west of where I am, so I'm not surprised you guys got hit too. Bubbles Light says, Poppy, Scotland is beautiful. Yeah, I've seen pictures of it, and I think they filmed Braveheart there, so I've seen some of the landscapes, so it does look very pretty. All right. I suppose with Christmas being only a week away, we should talk a little bit about Christmas stuff. I'm just about done with my Christmas cards. I swear on a stack of Bibles that I'm going to get the last of them mailed out tomorrow. Forks and Spoons says, yay, more Portal Wars. Probably my favorite series of yours. Yep, that'll probably be, by the time editing and covers are done, that'll probably be my first launch of next year. So, Philip Galligan says, big fan of your writing. I would definitely watch a movie if you were involved. Thanks for the wonderful writing. Oh, you're welcome. And a movie would be very cool, but as I've said, I think quite a few times, that's the sort of thing that's way out of my control. Mike says, going through the Portal Wars saga right now. Very good. I hope you're enjoying it. Most people seem to. I've got a lot more positive comments than I have negative on that series, so that's always nice. Poppy says more Portal Wars with Crazy Rose. Zatraxa says, do you have some life lessons you can tell us for the younger audience? Life lessons? I guess the best thing I could say is if you don't know what you want to do, figure out what you enjoy and then figure out how to monetize it. That's what I ended up doing with writing. I always loved to tell stories, and it was just a matter of figuring out the best way to make a living at it. So at least you should try if it's at all possible. It's not always practical to do something you love, but if you can, I definitely recommend it. Mike says, how did I get into writing? In high school, the senior year of high school, my English teacher, he assigned us a short story to write, and I wrote a fantasy story, and I got a good grade on it, and I had a lot of fun, and I've been writing ever since. Mostly from the time I graduated until 2014, I just wrote for fun. I got into publishing. I think it was late 2014 or early 2015. I can't remember exactly. I was reading a book. It's called Write, Publish, Repeat. I don't know if any of you've heard of it, but it's a very straightforward plan for publishing, indie publishing, and I followed it, and I've done reasonably well so far. Seems to be a discussion of yellow snow going on in the chat. Bubbles Light says, where do you get the knowledge from to write these amazing books? One of the best things about writing fiction is you don't need a ton of knowledge. I mean, you need to know craft and stuff, but most of it you can just make up. So, it's not like writing historical or nonfiction where you got to get all your facts right. A lot of the facts are just whatever I decide they are. So that helps. Mike says, what's your writing process like? I'll usually get an idea and I'll think about it until it solidifies in my head. Usually I'll have at least an idea of the main characters and the setting. And once I have that, I'll open up a Scrivener file and start writing. I just make it up as I go, and when I get to the end, I stop. Then I will go back and read, do a spell check, read through it one more time, add some more details, take away anything that doesn't need to be there, and send it off to my editor. Wild Food says, do I outline my stories? No, I don't. I've tried outlining, and I just can't follow it to save my life. Frederick Jasmine says, hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you. Darwin Dominguez says, did it take long to be able to live off your writing? Or do you have another job besides this? No, I'm full-time. All I do is write. It took 2 years, and I think I had 8 or 9 books. It was the first Soul Force Saga trilogy that really got me over the top. That did quite well. And then I just kept adding to my back catalog, and it just kept growing from there. Zatraxa says, how do you find things that you like? That I like? How do you mean? Like that I like to write? Whatever pops into my imagination, but maybe you could just drop in another comment with some more details. Ace WMD says, it started now. Time for questions. Yep. I'm glad you could stop by. I know you said in the comments you had some questions, so I'll do my best to answer them. Marcus Samoa says, hey guys, good to see you, Marcus. Glad you could make it. Ace WMD says, if Otto made his threads thicker instead of more numerous, would that have made him stronger? Probably not. the thickness number, it's the total amount of ether that he can manipulate that decides how much power he has. So more threads or thicker threads, it's the total. Excuse me. It's the total amount of power he has, rather than how it's shaped. Some spells don't even use threads; they use a completely different shape. So, yeah, it's less about the the shape than it is about the total amount of ether manipulated. So, Zatraxis says, have there ever been plot holes pointed out to you after the fact that you wanted to revise? Sometimes I've had a few plot holes pointed out to me. I don't really ever plan to go back and do a full revise of books that are already published. I prefer to go forward and try not to make the same mistake again. Or if I can, in a later book in the series, if somebody points out something, like in book 3 of a series, and I can address it, in the next book that hasn't come out yet, I certainly would do that. But I don't really go back and revise my older books. I figure they are what they are, and move on. Ace asks, how are the demon binders empowered? Do they use threads as well, or are they following a completely different process? The ethereal threads are really just a shape that wizards use. They're not a specific thing. It's just a way of measuring the power of a wizard, rather than a specific way. It's not like what do I want to say? It's just the way their spells form. They can form the spells any way they want. It doesn't have to be threads. It can be like walls, barriers, that kind of thing. Harry Face says, think you'll ever do an a post-apocalyptic type book? Yeah, I've actually got a plan for a series set in like a fantasy post-apocalyptic, sort of like Vampire Hunter D. Ace says, does alchemy have the potential to produce stronger potions than magic? Probably not, just because alchemy is just another way of manipulating the ether. So it's really just a different sort of magic, rather than a whole other thing. So probably not. Were the arcane lords able to bypass 100 threads? Yes. Amet-Sor, the most powerful arcane lord, could wield 150. So Marcus says, did you see the news about Henry Cavill's next play, Warhammer 40,000? I did see that. It should be interesting. I think he's working with Amazon, though, so I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high. And it really sucks that he either quit or they kicked him off of The Witcher. He was the only thing in that show worth watching. I think they said Chris Hemsworth's little brother is going to take over playing Geralt. I can't say I'm optimistic about that. Mike says, how long did it take for you to become a good writer? What was the process like? I'm starting off writing for fun. I have pretty terrible writing skills, and I'm working on them. I'm not sure how long it took. I know I wrote from, like I said, I started in 96, and I wrote through 2014 just for fun before I started publishing. And I took 2 writing courses, and I would say I've got at least, 40 books on technique, writing process that I've read and put into use. And I've also taken a whole bunch of technique courses from Dean Wesley Smith to try and improve various aspects of my craft. So it takes a while, but the good thing about writing is you can publish your practice. So get your work out there and get people to tell you what they think, and you'll see if you're going in the right direction pretty quick. You might even want to think about trying something like Wattpad to get feedback on what you're doing. So Travis says God Emperor Cavill, yeah. Marcus Samoa says I love Vampire Hunter D. Yes, I've got all the Vampire Hunter D books on my Kindle. I haven't read them all yet. I've read the first, I think, 17. But yeah, it's a great series. Mike says I read all the Witcher books and played the games. They really screwed the series. Yeah, I've only read the first 2 books and I haven't played the games, but I found the series pretty boring. I had a hard time getting into it. Ace says, did the quantity of mithril directly impact how much stronger it made the spells, or was it always a flat 50%? It depends on how skilled you are in using the ether. The more practice you have, the more you can get out of the mithril. So a master like an arcane lord would get more out of it than somebody like Otto who's just getting started. The Traxxas says, are you getting tired of people asking the same question over and over again? No, that's fine. I know everybody's curious, so they haven't asked it that many times, and usually they ask the same question but in a different way. So hopefully I can come at it from another direction and keep it from getting boring. Mike says Vampire Hunter D is one of my favorites. Yep, Vampire Hunter D is great. It's one of the first animes I watched, the original Vampire Hunter D. So Marcus asks, do you imagine a book with monsters being the heroes? Monsters being the heroes? Maybe a dragon. I could see a dragon hero maybe being kind of cool. Ace says, this one's a bit off topic, but it didn't offend you when I compared your books to other series, did it? It wasn't my intention. No, I don't mind. People compare my stuff to other things all the time. It doesn't bother me. Usually it's a pretty good compliment. Sometimes people says, something they listened to or read of mine is better than something written by some author that I think is fantastic, and that's always a good boost to the ego. But no, I wasn't offended at all. And don't worry about going off topic. These live streams, the only topic is whatever pops up in the chat. So we wander pretty widely. The Turtle Man, or the Man Turtle, excuse me. I'm currently listening to the Divine Key trilogy, and Queeg is the best goblin so far, his favorite character. I hope he lives a long, happy life and gets lots of tasty foods and finds the best females. Yeah, if you haven't, I won't spoil it if you haven't got to the end, but Queeg has a bit of a rough time. He was fun to write, though. I may have to revisit Queeg someday down the road. Marcus says, did you see the Vampire Hunter animations? The second is my favorite. Yeah, I saw both of them. The second one's quite good. The first one's quite good too, but yeah, you're right. I think the second one is better. I read both the books that the animation was based on, and they were better yet. Rizzy111 says, love Vampire Hunter D also. On a side note, have you seen the Seizure of Power video with Vampire Hunter D OVA regarding Cavill? I hope he will either be the Emperor and show his rise to power, or chapter master Lionel Johnson or Gabriel Angelos, not an Inquisitor. Yeah. I'm not really into, I don't know much about the lore of 40K, so I have no idea what part he'll play. Mike says, it's always interesting setting up magic systems. How do you set the magical lore of a series? I just like the rest of it. I kind of make it up as I go. Basically, I start out with the character and his starting situation, and just sort of build as I go and make notes so that hopefully the stuff I do later on doesn't contradict what I've done earlier. And I also build on from other series. What's happening in each series, you know, I learn a little bit more of the lore of the universe and try and expand on that too. Marcus says, personal question. Do I collect baseball hats? I don't collect them. This is my streaming hat. I've got a work hat, a winter hat, and a summer hat, and that's it. Mike says, a lot of great anime and manga. Yeah, there sure is. It's hard to keep up with it all. He says, after the death of Vultan, Otto was the strongest remaining wizard. That's right. On his world, at least. He's the strongest wizard on his world at the moment. So, yes, that's correct. Wildfood says, do you follow any particular plot structure? I'm not quite sure what you mean by plot structure. I follow the one that Algis Budrys created, the 7-step plot structure. It's the first 3 are a character in a situation with a problem, and then you do a try-fail cycles until you get to the end when the final try-fail cycle is a try-success, and that's the end of the book. So that's how that's the structure I use. At least I think that's what you mean. At least, if not, let me know down below, and I'll try and clarify. Marcus says, I just watched the new Spider-Man animation trailer. I'm so happy. I haven't seen it, but if it's good, that's excellent. I like Spider-Man. He says, so I noticed Otto used elemental magics to an extent, but since he harnessed the catalyst to do it, it was curious if he'd be able to flip the effect, like instead of fire, he could produce ice. Yeah, he can control elements. The fire, it just comes from injecting the ether into the I guess catalyst, if you want to call it that, you know, like the heat from rubbing his fingers together, and then uses the ether to expand it into a spell. So I'm sure he could produce ice, wind, you know, make the earth explode, that kind of thing. Mike says, I can't see Superman without Henry. I wonder why they fired him. I think they're getting rid of everyone that had anything to do with the Scott Snyder stuff. Because I know they're bringing in James Gunn, the guy that he did Guardians of the Galaxy. They're bringing him in to run the new DCEU. So I think that's why. I think they're just going to do like a complete reset. I'm afraid that means they're probably going to get rid of all the other Justice League characters too, which kind of sucks. I always thought Gal Gadot did a great job on Wonder Woman, so I'm hoping they at least get to keep her. Marcus says Otto is like John Wick. I'm not sure about that, especially the lack of guns, and he's not much of a hand-to-hand fighter either. So, Wildfoot says that's what she meant. That's what he meant, or she, whatever. Good. I'm glad I answered your question. Rizzy says, you hear it here, folks. Otto goes to other worlds, or other worlds come to Otto through the gates, right? I don't know that Otto's going to another world, although I suppose it's possible something might come through one day. If they did, it would definitely be through the portals, yes, because that's the only way. You know, it'd be strong enough to connect to another world, at least for people there. Muhammad Leving says, "Would Otto ever become an arcane lord?" No, he's set that path aside at the end of the Sanguine Scroll. He wants to keep from becoming a complete monster like Almet-Sor did. So he'll have to find other ways to increase his power. Mike says, "Have you kept up with Marvel? After the end of Infinity War, it really fell off for me." Yeah, I don't keep up with Marvel movies anymore. I think Infinity War was the last one I watched, actually. Yeah. At least the last one I can remember. A says there were demon lords who granted boons to their followers, right? Were there deities as well? There aren't any gods as such in my universe. People worship the demon lords and the archangels, and they're so much more powerful than anything else. They could be considered gods, but there aren't any. There aren't any actual gods. The Man Turtle says, "Do your books share a universe?" Yes, all my books, even the science fiction books, are all set in the same shared universe, just different worlds. Rizzy says, "You said that he's the strongest wizard in the world. That means, in my head at least, that you consider other worlds and how to get there and back." Oh yeah, I just meant like if you ran into Damien from the Soul Force saga, that he would get obliterated. I didn't mean to imply that they were necessarily going to actually come head to head. Just that he wasn't the strongest of the wizards, in my universe is what I was trying to get at. Sorry if I wasn't clear. Let's see. So Track just says, "What books are you currently reading?" I'm currently reading a light novel series called "The Magic in This World is Too Far Behind." It's an isekai story about these heroes that are summoned. And one of them is a wizard from our world, and he's crazy strong compared to everybody there. And it's a lot of fun. I think I'm on book 5. It's a 9-book series, so it's quite good. I highly recommend it. Mohammed says, "I guess when we compare Otto to John Wick, it's more like a similarity in their absolute brutality and no mercy when people mess with him." Yes, that I could absolutely see the comparison, because you don't want to mess with Otto or John Wick. That's for sure. Big Pete says, "Is there either an infinite source or can it be depleted?" The ether, I assume you're talking about the ether? No, that's infinite. You can't deplete it, but you can get backlash from using too much. And eventually the ether itself will fight anybody that, it'll try and resist after a while, anybody that tries to use it too much. But no, it's infinite. It's everywhere in the universe and endless. So it's basically pure chaos. And it's what keeps all the things in the universe from stagnating and dying. Marcus asks, "Did you like Terry Pratchett?" I'm asking because they just launched an animated movie about the amazing Maurice. I haven't read much Pratchett. I think I've got like 2 books on his shelf, but on my shelf, but I haven't read much of it. Rizzy says, "Got it." Okay, good. I'm glad I cleared that up. Mike says, "I think animated series work better from any fantasy series versus live action. Definitely need more fantasy series on screen." Yeah, that it can, just because you can basically do anything in an animation, especially with the cost of live action stuff. Marcus says, "I finished reading Glacier's Edge, Ari Salvatore. I liked it." I don't think I've read that one, but I've read a lot of Salvatore, and I do like his work. Although some of his later Dritz books, I'm not so crazy about. They made him kind of whiny. I liked it better when he was more of a fighter and less of a introspective complainer, I guess. Mike says, "There are a lot of good web novels. My favorite has to be Mother of Learning. I enjoy evil or anti-hero main characters." I've heard of Mother of Learning. The guy that's writing it has put it up on Amazon, I believe now, and collected it. Mohammed Laving says, "I'm intrigued with the void. Is it just one void for all worlds or a different version of it?" Just one void, but where it touches a world, it's that part of it is affected by the people it interacts with, so they're all a little bit different, but they're all part of one thing. The void is a cosmic entity, like the creator and the destroyer. Ace says, "So the ether is the supreme deity?" Sort of. It's not conscious. it's just an energy field, like sort of like the Force, I suppose, would be the closest equivalent I can think of. The Turtle Man says Shadow Man versus Otto. The Shadow Man, hands down. Daktari would obliterate Otto. He's fairly close to being an Arcane Lord level wizard himself. So, Marcus says animation is the place for fantasy. Yeah, I agree. You can definitely do. You can definitely do a lot with animation. Muhammad Lamy says Coke or Pepsi. I don't drink soda, so my mom always liked Coke, but I don't. I don't drink. I don't drink any soda at the moment. I used to drink. I used to like orange soda, but I haven't drank soda in I don't even know, probably 15 years. Zatraxis says, "What's my current goal as a writer?" Let's see. Well, I want to finish, the series I'm working on. Big goals. I want to. I'd like to build like a subscription thing where I had a couple thousand people, like Patreon, but not so censorious, where I could just write for them and I wouldn't have to worry about sales and stuff. That would be awesome. But yeah, I'm just kind of plugging away, writing new books and releasing them. And I have my Kickstarter in January, which I'm quite excited about. But yeah, I just want to keep writing and keep getting better. That's mainly my goal. Nicholas Martin says, "Hey James, I really appreciate listening to your books at work. It made the day better." Good. I'm glad to hear it. I know a lot of people listen to my stuff at work, or especially like the truck drivers. They're listening to it on the road. So that's cool. I'm glad I can do that. Provide some entertainment for you guys if you're bored at work. Marcus says, "Animation is the place for fantasy. Vox Machina returns in January." Oh, cool. I haven't actually watched that one yet, but it's definitely on my to be watched list because I think it's on Amazon, so I at least get that. Zatraxa says, "How much do you value comedic relief in your stories, especially the more gritty ones?" A little bit of I don't know if comedy relief is the right word, but a little bit of a break, especially in the gritty ones, is important. It gives the readers a chance to rest. You can get overwhelmed if it's dark, gritty all the time with no breaks. And the change in pace can actually make some of the more intense stuff seem more intense. So that's definitely little breaks, whether you use comedy or you just use something else, are really important to control the pacing of the stories you're working on. Let's see. Ace says, since there was a guy who possessed a rogue connection to the ether, does that make it equivalent to wild magic? Also, Edred could do a light flash based simply on his conceptual knowledge of it. New spells be devised like that? Yeah, so yeah, the guy that had the rogue connection that's a wild talent. He can only do the one thing, but he can do it without being a wizard or understanding how magic works. It's just one thing he can do. He developed as part of his evolution, I guess. And any kind of spell can be developed. It's really just a spell is just a way of shaping the ether. So any way you can imagine, as long as you have the power, you can shape the ether to do pretty much anything you want, as long as you're strong enough. Mike says, "I have listened to Death and Honor as well as the Portal Wars. What do you recommend next?" If you haven't listened to the Divine Key trilogy, you can definitely check that out. I think that or my science fiction series are all that's left, at least until 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, January 8th. That's when the new series will start. Will start being posted on here. So, Bubbles Delight. I'm not a soda drinker either. I love water. Yeah, me too. That's what I've got my at the side here that I keep moistening my lips with. Zatrax says, amazing. I hope you keep that healthy attitude and keep pursuing your craft. Yeah, writing is, I love to write. I love making up new stories. I have to do all the business stuff so that I can have time to write. But if I didn't have to do the business stuff, I would just keep writing for the sheer pleasure of it. So, Muhammad Laving asks, how do you create puzzles or mysteries in your books? Do you come up with a solution first and then work backwards? No, what I'll do is if I need a puzzle, I'll write it when I come up with it, and if I have to set it up, I'll just jump back and build it through. But yeah, I don't really make up stuff and then write backwards. I guess I kind of write in a straight line. Generally, I mean, I jump back and forth, but I don't really come up with plot points and then work forward to them or whatever. I don't think I explained that very well, but hopefully you know what I mean. Global Op says, I'm trying to funnel out another chapter right now. So hearing your books revitalized me. Oh, that's good. I'm glad they could do that for you. Mike says, I see many authors have success by having a Patreon, writing a web novel chapter by chapter on it, then releasing full books on Amazon. Yeah, that's something I'm looking into, but I would never use Patreon. They're very censorious, and what they'll shut you down if they don't like something you do, and even if it's not on their site. So I'm researching options for doing something like that. So, yep. Ace says, I guess what I'm asking is, does the ether respond to willpower, or is a complete understanding required? Mostly it's willpower. You have to figure out how to shape it into what you want. So it's sort of a matter of trial and error. You might try something, you might imagine a spell and how it shapes and how it's formed, and it may or may not work. And then you adjust what you imagined, until you get the result you want, I suppose. And once you get the result you want, you have to remember, I suppose, once you get the result you've imagined, that's what you would consider a spell for purposes of understanding it. That's what you would write down in a book, if you want someone to be able to duplicate the effect. So it's a little bit of both. It definitely responds to willpower, but completely understanding the effect you want is required to get the magic to work. Hopefully that clears it up for you. Mike says, do you think George R.R. Martin will ever finish his books? It seems the series will die with him. I'm not entirely optimistic that he'll finish it, but the series won't die with him. His publisher, if he doesn't finish it, when he dies, his publisher will probably hire somebody like Brandon Sanderson to finish it, the same way they did Robert Jordan. And then they'll start writing spin-offs set in that world. Yeah, Song of Fire and Ice is too popular. Even after George is gone, they'll just keep pumping out, or not pumping out, given how slowly they do. But they'll keep adding new. Books and stories in that world. It's too popular for them not to. Wild Food says, "Who's your favorite writer? All time, Terry Brooks. I love Terry Brooks' stuff, his early stuff. Some of his older stuff I had trouble getting into, but he's the one who made me want to be a writer. His Sword of Shannara series is what inspired me to become a writer, so he'll always have a special place in my heart. Top one working right now, I would say Joe Abercrombie is probably my favorite. I love his stuff. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't read it, I totally recommend. Muhammad Levy says, that's quite a collection of books behind you. Which is your most treasured possession? Boy, that's tough. Let's see. You see that one right above my finger, that red leather-bound book? That's the complete works of Shakespeare. I quite like that. There's also somewhere on there is a leather-bound edition of Jules Verne omnibus that's got 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and one other book that escapes me at the moment. But those are probably my, as far as books I like, they're the best quality books, I should say, that I have. I don't know which one I would treasure the most, but those are the ones that are, probably the most valuable, maybe. A says, "Oh, I don't like Sanderson's style at all. Depowering magic and long exposition. Not a fan." Yeah, exposition can get boring. You got to be careful with that. But I thought he did a pretty good job finishing The Wheel of Time. I quite enjoyed those last 3 books. That might have been because he was working from Jordan's notes. So I also like the Mistborn series. They are, let's see, right up here. I got a box set of the first 3 books of the Mistborn series. So I quite enjoyed those. Yep. But yeah, no, I can't. Like I said, I can't imagine that they'll ever let A Song of Fire and Ice die. It's just too. It's gotten too big, too much part of the culture to let it go. So, question from me now: how many of you guys are done with all your Christmas stuff? We only got a week to go, so hopefully you all are. I'm going to finish mine tomorrow. Forever Lurk. Oh, that's a new name. Welcome. Glad to see you. Glad you could make it. If you were to write a low magic story based on a real life ancient civilization, which would you choose and why? Which is mysterious to you? Low magic story on real life. Oh boy. Excuse me. Probably ancient Rome. I'm a huge fan of ancient Rome. That's the series that'll be starting. The next series I'm going to release is sort of set in a fantasy version of ancient Rome. Maybe ancient Babylon would be kind of cool. I don't know much about it, but that might be fun to look into. Mom and Lemmy says, that's awesome to hear. I love Jules Verne too. I could never stomach Shakespeare though. I always felt like a punishment to read his works. Yeah, I think it's the archaic language that makes it hard. We studied Shakespeare in English in high school, and I quite enjoyed it. I picked that. I think I can't remember where I picked up the leather-bound edition, but I thought it was just cool to have all of his works collected in one place if I want to look at them. Big Pete says, the missus has Christmas wrapped up by November. She's a good egg. I just hand over the money. I imagine that works out really well. Shopping is not my favorite thing to do. I just send cards. A says, oh, I'm glad you like those. I gave them a try, but the powers seem too limited. No real benefit to them in a world with guns and the all one or nothing having powers. The setting was great, though. Yes. That's the Mistborn, I assume you're talking about. I haven't read it in a while, honestly. I think I read it probably 15 years ago, so I can't remember all the details. There's I think 1,500 books on those between all the shelves behind me. So I've read a lot of books. Speaking of which, somebody asked way earlier in the chat about what I recommended when you were getting into being a writer. And one big thing you can do is read a lot. You absorb a lot of technique and ideas from reading. So definitely read a lot if you're looking to be a writer. Marcus says, my gifts are ready. Okay, very good. Looks like everybody's on the ball when it comes to Christmas. That's always good. So, well, I've got everyone here. A couple of quick announcements. Obviously, with Christmas and New Year's being the next 2 Sundays, we won't be having any live streams. And then I think the next Sunday will be January 8th. And I'll be back at 4 o'clock. We'll do our live stream. And then after the live stream, we will I'll be making the first book in the new epic fantasy series live on YouTube, along with my Kickstarter to support it. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I'm certainly looking forward to hear everybody's reaction. Should be it's a fun series. I had a great time writing it, and Joe recorded the audio. So Ace says, were there any people totally immune to magic? Since the people that live near Mithril are gifted. There aren't any people that are immune to magic, but there's that world I mentioned. I think it was in the Sanguine Scroll, where the arcane lords went to a world where the metal that is anti-mithril, and the people there wore armor and used weapons made out of it, and they were basically immune to magic. So, and there are also places in the universe where the ether doesn't reach. They're like dead zones, and there's no magic there either. So I suppose if you were on a world that happened to be a dead zone, there just wouldn't be any magic. But yeah, nobody's actually immune to it. Rizzy says, I bought 5 boxes of vegan stuff. My family suffers from diabetes, so I got a lot of sugar-free stuff. A bit expensive, but I cover a lot of people with it. Yay for a disease that unites us, I guess. Yeah. I guess if it unites us, that's the only thing it's good for. I don't think I'd make it as a vegan. I like meat too much. I also eat too much sugar. I got to be careful of that. But Big Pete says, have you ever traveled outside the USA much? I know you like ancient Rome, and I'm planning a trip to the Vatican myself in a few years. No, I don't actually like to travel, to be honest with you. I'm more of a homebody. I've been to Canada a couple of times, but that's just like an hour drive north of me, so not exactly a huge trip. So yeah, no, I don't. I keep my traveling to a minimum as much as possible. Just not my cup of tea. Ace says meat is amazing. It's too bad animals are so cute. Yeah, I suppose there's some ugly animals out there you can eat, though. I don't think cows are particularly cute. Nicholas Martin says, so they went to Earth and attacked Rome, and now the Roman legions are coming for that sweet magic. No, that's not really. If you're talking about the people who were immune or had the weapons that stop magic, they couldn't travel, to the world of the arcane lords because everything in their world stops magic. So they couldn't use the portal if they wanted to. Mohammed says, have a weird question. Bear with me, please. If you had to select one of your characters to accompany you to a deserted island, who would it be? Oh my. I mean, would we have to stay there? I would just say one of the ones that could fly and they could carry me back to land. Damien, maybe. We just put a bubble of soul force around us and we'd fly right back. Maybe that's too practical an answer. Big Pete says, fair enough. Marcus Simone says, in Brazil, we have a saying, bacon is life. I think they have that saying in a lot of places. I'm quite a bacon fan myself, although I prefer ham. Forever Lurk says, I hear a big snowstorm is going to hit the Northeast in the next few days. Just FYI, big blizzard conditions. We just had a big blizzard. I'm hoping we don't get another one. We got 21 inches 2 days ago. I don't think we need another one. I lost power 3 times on Friday. He says Soul Force. There's other types of magic in that linked universe. Soul Force isn't another type of magic. The people on the world with Soul Force absorb. They're not even aware of the ether, but they absorb it and they transform it in their bodies into Soul Force, and that's what their magic. That's how they use the ether, even though they're not aware it exists. So it's just another way of wielding the same magic. Yeah, that's a Just a different sort of magic, I guess. Ace says, I like how your girl characters don't breast boobily. You just make them people. I try to make all my characters people. Men, the women, the monsters. Um, yeah, I try to make my heroes imperfect, my villains not completely evil, have redeeming qualities. I try to make my, just the people to be people. And, it's, I don't want people to be just the sum of their body parts or, whatever. I try to make them as real as I can while still making them larger than life, I suppose. Forever Love says, I agree with this. Your females have agency. Yes. I mean, it'd be boring to read about women who are just there to be pretty. I mean, who would want to read about characters like that? Marcus says, I loved when you put mechs in your books. Mechs in my books. Oh, you mean the giant armor? Yeah. I suppose they're sort of like mechs. Rurikar says, hi, James and Chad. I hope you're all having a great weekend. Yep, it's been pretty good. Although somebody didn't have a good weekend. There's a car accident across the road from me that about 2 hours ago. So they were definitely not having a good day. But glad you could make it to the chat, to the live stream. It's good to see you. Well, it looks like we might be running low on questions. So I'll maybe wrap this up and wish you guys all a very happy Sunday evening and a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. And I'll see you on January 8th with another live stream. And is that one more question? Yeah. Mohammed Laving says, I enjoy your depiction of demons. Most of them aren't just evil for the sake of it. They all have goals. At the same time, the angels sound like sanctimonious assholes. I like Xander's demon. Yes. I try to make everybody interesting. As best I can, anyway. All right, guys. I'll see you on January 8th. Hopefully you can all make it. So long.